That's a chilling situation. The guestbook's entries, especially one in your handwriting, suggest something unnatural tied to the cabin, possibly a temporal or supernatural phenomenon. Here's a breakdown of what you might consider. Investigate the guestbook. Examine the handwriting closely. Is it undeniably yours, or could it be a forgery? Check the dates and details of the entries. Are there patterns in the dates, e.g., specific intervals, lunar cycles? Cross-reference names with local records or news archives for disappearances. Local lore. The locals' warnings imply a history. Ask them for specifics, legends, stories, or events tied to the cabin. Small towns often have oral traditions or old-timers who know more than they let on. Be respectful, but persistent. Cabin details. Search the cabin for clues. Hidden compartments, strange markings, or objects mentioned in the guestbook could point to what's happening. Check for structural oddities, locked rooms, unusual materials, or signs of rituals. Time and patterns. The midnight warning is key. Avoid staying past midnight until you know more. Set alarms, leave early, and observe the cabin from a distance at night if safe. Any environmental changes, sounds, lights, temperature, around midnight could be telling. Your handwriting. If the entry is yours, consider if you've been to the cabin before without recalling it, memory loss, time distortion, or if something is mimicking you. Compare the ink, pen, or writing style to your own. Safety. First, don't stay alone. Bring a trusted friend or local guide. Document everything, photos, videos, notes. If you feel uneasy or notice anything, shadows, voices, time skips, leave immediately. Stared at the guestbook, my pulse hammering in my ears. The last entry, my name, my handwriting, dated tonight, June 22nd, 2025, with a single line. I stayed too long. The ink was fresh, glistening under the cabin's flickering bulb. I hadn't written it. I'd only arrived an hour ago, lugging a duffel bag and a six-pack, ready to spend a weekend sorting through my late grandfather's junk. The locals' warnings about midnight had seemed like small-town hokum, but now, with the book trembling in my hands, I wasn't so sure. The cabin creaked, settling in the evening chill. It was 7:30 p.m., plenty of time before midnight, but the air felt wrong, thick, like it was watching me. The guestbook's earlier entries didn't help. The first was from 1935, a hunter named Amos Reed. Heard whispers in the walls, leaving at dawn. He didn't, according to the town's records I'd skimmed at the diner. Vanished. Then 1957, a couple, Mary and Paul Whitaker. The clock stopped at 11:59. We're not alone. Gone. 1983, a drifter, Clara Boone. It knows my name. Missing. Every entry, spaced decades apart, ended the same way. And now, my name. As if I'd already sealed my fate, I slammed the book shut and grabbed my phone. No signal, of course. The cabin was miles from town, nestled in a pine-choked valley where even the stars seemed dim. I checked the door, locked. Windows, secure. The fireplace was cold, but a stack of logs sat nearby, tempting. I didn't light it. Something about the dark mouth of the chimney unnerved me. At 8:15, I started searching the cabin. The floorboards groaned under my boots as I poked through dusty shelves and a sagging dresser. Nothing unusual. Rusted tools, faded photos of a stern man I assumed was my grandfather, a Bible with half the pages torn out. Then, under the bed, my fingers brushed something cold and smooth. I pulled out a small tin box, its lid engraved with a spiral that hurt my eyes to follow. Inside was a pocket watch, stopped at 11:59, and a folded note in my grandfather's scrawl, "Don't trust the time. It lies." The watch ticked once as I held it, then fell silent. I dropped it back into the box, heart racing. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the windows. I glanced at my phone, 9:47 p.m. Time was slipping faster than it should. I tried to recall the drive up, the diner, the locals' wary glances. Had I missed something? The old woman at the gas station had muttered, "That place don't let go easy." I'd laughed. Idiot. By 10:30, I was pacing, the guest book open again. I couldn't stop rereading my entry. The words felt like a warning, or worse, an invitation. I grabbed a pen from my bag, determined to prove it wasn't me. I scribbled on a napkin. "This is my handwriting. June 22nd, 2025. The strokes matched perfectly. Same loops, same slant." My stomach churned, then I heard it. A whisper, soft and sharp, like a blade on silk. It came from the walls, or maybe the floor. No, everywhere. "Stay." I froze, gripping the pen like a weapon. The whisper came again, clearer. "You're already here." The bulb overhead flickered, casting shadows that didn't match the room's angles. I bolted to the door, fumbling with the lock. It wouldn't budge. The windows, nailed shut, though they hadn't been an hour ago. 11:15 p.m. The cabin felt smaller, the walls closer. Yeah. The whisper grew into a chorus, overlapping voices. Stay. 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 I shouted, I'm leaving! But my voice sounded thin, swallowed by the noise. The pocket watch in the tin box ticked again, louder, like a heartbeat. I grabbed my bag, ready to smash a window when the guest book fell open on the table. A new line appeared under my entry in my handwriting. I hear them now. 11:59 p.m. The whispers stopped. The bulb went out. In the silence, the pocket watch screamed a single deafening tick. The air split, and I saw it. A figure in the corner, faceless, wearing my jacket, holding my pen. It pointed to the guest book, where one final word appeared. Midnight. The clock struck 12. The air turned to ice as the clock's chime faded, leaving a silence so heavy it pressed against my chest. The figure in the corner didn't move, its faceless form somehow staring right through me. My jacket hung on its shoulders, the same one I was wearing, down to the frayed cuff I'd snagged on a nail earlier. The guest book lay open, the word midnight glowing faintly, as if written in embers. My phone read 12 a.m., frozen. The cabin was no longer just a cabin. It felt like a trap that had snapped shut. I backed toward the door, my boots scuffing the floor, but the knob was still jammed. The figure tilted its head, mimicking my movement, and raised the pen, my pen, in a slow, deliberate arc. The whispers returned, not from the walls this time, but inside my skull. You wrote it. You stay. My vision blurred, and for a split second I saw myself sitting at the table, writing in the guest book, my face blank, eyes empty. Was that me? A memory? A vision? I shook it off, grabbing a fire poker from the hearth. I'm not staying! I swung at the window, glass shattering into the night. Cold air rushed in, but the darkness outside was wrong, too thick, like ink pooling beyond the frame. The figure didn't flinch. It stepped forward, and I swear it grew taller, its edges blurring into the shadows. The pocket watch in the tin box ticked again, faster now, a frantic pulse that matched my own. I climbed through the broken window, ignoring the glass biting into my palms. Outside, the forest was silent. No crickets, no wind, just the suffocating weight of nothingness. My truck was still parked where I'd left it, but the keys in my pocket felt heavier, unfamiliar. I glanced back at the cabin. The figure stood in the window, watching, the guest book now in its hands. My handwriting sprawled across a new page. I tried to leave. I sprinted to the truck, fumbling the keys into the ignition. The engine sputtered but wouldn't turn over. The dashboard clock blinked 12:00, then 11:59, then 12:00 again, like a loop. The figure was closer now, standing just beyond the truck's hood, its faceless head tilted as if curious. The whispers in my mind sharpened. You're already here. Always here. Desperate, I grabbed the tire iron from the passenger seat and stumbled out, ready to fight or run. The figure was gone, but the guest book lay on the ground, open to my entry. A new line had appeared. The cabin keeps what it claims. I dropped the tire iron, my hands shaking. The forest around me seemed to shift, trees leaning closer, their branches clawing at the sky. The cabin's door swung open, though I hadn't touched it, revealing only darkness inside. Then I heard my own voice, faint but clear, from within the cabin. Don't go! It wasn't a memory. I was standing right here, outside. My legs moved before my brain caught up, carrying me back toward the cabin, not out of choice, but as if something tugged me forward. The pocket watch's ticking filled the air, deafening now, each tick pulling me closer to the door. As I crossed the threshold, the figure was there, holding the guest book. It wasn't faceless anymore. It was me, down to the scar on my left cheek from a childhood fall. It smiled, but its eyes were wrong, like holes punched in reality. You wrote it, it said, voice mine but colder. You stay. The door slammed shut, the watch stopped. The guest book fell open, and my hand, against my will, picked up the pen. The pen trembled in my hand, its tip hovering over the guest book's open page. My doppelganger stood inches away, its hollow eyes fixed on me, that unnatural smile stretching wider. The cabin's air was stifling, laced with the metallic tang of something ancient and hungry. The words, you stay, echoed in my head, not just a whisper now, but a command, sinking into my bones. My arm moved, slow and jerky, like a puppet's, the pen scratching against the paper. I belong here. I didn't want to write it. I screamed inside, but my body wasn't mine anymore. The doppelganger nodded, satisfied, and stepped back, dissolving into the shadows. The guest book snapped shut, the sound like a gunshot. The pocket watch, still in its tin box on the table, let out a final shuddering tick, then fell silent. My vision swam, and for a moment I was somewhere else, Standing in the cabin, year ago, decades ago, writing the same words, wearing different clothes, my face younger but just as terrified. The memory, or was it a vision, shattered, and I was back, gasping, alone in the dark. The bulb overhead flickered on, casting a sickly yellow glow. The door was closed, the broken window somehow whole again. My phone, dead a minute ago, buzzed. 12:01 a.m., June 22nd, 2025. The cabin felt different now. Not just a trap, but a living thing, its walls pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. I grabbed my bag, determined to try escaping again, but my jacket, the one I'd seen on the doppelganger, was gone. In its place, hanging on the chair, was a worn coat, decades old, smelling of damp earth and pine. It wasn't mine, but it fit perfectly when I slipped it on. I yanked the door open, expecting resistance, but it swung wide, revealing the forest. The trees stood still, their branches no longer clawing but beckoning. My truck was there, keys still in my pocket, but I hesitated. The guestbook's words burned in my mind. The cabin keeps what it claims. What if leaving wasn't an option? What if I was already part of this place? A sound broke the silence. A low, rhythmic hum coming from the cabin's fireplace. The chimney, which I'd avoided earlier, seemed to glow faintly. Not with fire, but something colder, blue and unnatural. Against every instinct, I walked back inside and knelt by the hearth. The hum grew louder, vibrating in my chest. I reached up, my hand brushing the stone, and felt a seam, a hidden panel. It clicked, sliding open to reveal a narrow staircase descending into darkness. The air from below was frigid, carrying whispers, not the ones from before, but fragments of voices pleading, screaming, laughing. "Amos! Mary! Clara!" Names from the guestbook layered over each other, and then my own, spoken in my voice. "You're home." The pocket watch, which I'd left on the table, was now in my hand, its face cracked, hands frozen at 11:59. It ticked once, and the hum from the staircase surged, pulling at me like a current. I could run. The door was still open, the truck waiting, but the guestbook, the watch, the coat, they all pointed to one truth. The cabin had already claimed me, maybe long before I arrived. The staircase beckoned, its darkness promising answers, or maybe just the end of the loop I was trapped in. I took a step down, the stone slick under my boots. The whispers grew clearer, welcoming. The panel slid shut behind me. The staircase spiraled deeper than seemed possible, each step swallowing the faint glow from the cabin above. The air grew colder, denser, clinging to my skin like damp cloth. The whispers from the fireplace morphed into a cacophony, names, pleas, laughter, blending with my own voice, now unrecognizable, chanting, "You're home! You're home!" The pocket watch in my hand ticked erratically, its cracked face glowing faintly, casting jagged shadows on the stone walls. The coat, heavy on my shoulders, felt like it was stitching itself to me, its fabric whispering memories that weren't mine. A hunter's fear, a couple's despair, a drifter's surrender. I don't know how long I descended. Time unraveled, minutes stretching into years, or maybe collapsing into nothing. The staircase ended abruptly at a cavern, its walls pulsing with that same blue, unnatural light from the fireplace. In the center stood a massive tree, its roots sprawling like veins, its bark etched with spirals that matched the tin box's lid. The guestbook lay at its base, open, my entry glowing. "I belong here." Above it, suspended in the air, were figures. Amos, Mary, Paul, Clara, and others, their faces frozen in silent screams, their bodies translucent, tethered to the tree by shimmering threads. My doppelganger was there, standing beside the tree, no longer smiling. Its eyes were mine, but older, worn by centuries. "You wrote it," it said, voice soft but final. "The cabin chooses. The tree keeps." It gestured to the guestbook, and I saw new words forming. "I am the cabin now." I tried to run, but my legs wouldn't move. The watch in my hand shattered, its gears floating upward, joining the threads binding the others. The tree's roots stirred, slithering toward me, and the whispers became a roar. "Stay. Stay. Stay." I saw flashes. Myself in 1935, 1957, 1983, writing in the guestbook, climbing these stairs, always ending here. The cabin wasn't a place. It was a loop, a parasite, feeding on time, on us. The doppelganger reached out, its hand passing through my chest, cold as death. "You've always been here," it said, and I felt it. Centuries of me, trapped, woven into the tree, the cabin, the forest. My memories frayed, the diner, the truck, my life outside this place dissolving like ash. The roots wrapped around my ankles, pulling me toward the tree. I screamed, but no sound came. As the tree claimed me, I saw the cabin above shift. The walls rebuilt themselves, the broken window mended, the guest book reset to a blank page, waiting for the next name. The forest exhaled, hiding its secret again. My doppelganger faded, its work done, and I was no longer me. Just another thread, another whisper, bound to the tree's endless hunger. Above, the cabin stood silent, its door slightly ajar, inviting the next guest.